Hello, and welcome back to mini masterclasses for the French horn. My name is Libby Ando, and I'm really excited to continue working on some of the concepts we've discussed in prior weeks, and also to add in some new things that we can work on in practice moving forward to develop our skills on the French horn. So without further ado, let's get started. You'll remember that we always want to set ourselves up for success, starting with really good posture. So make sure your feet are flat on the ground. Make sure you're sitting up tall. You don't want to slouch, or you don't want to be like tense and rigid. You just want to be in a relaxed, neutral position so that when you go to play, you have a strong foundation and you're not contorting yourself. Remember that your hand is going to be like a handshake, just with our thumb on top and slightly cupped. So flat hand, thumb on top, slightly cupped, and when we put it in our bell, it's still going to be in this handshake position, but we're going to have plenty of room for our sound to come out, and we're also going to be able to have that characteristic French horn sound by having our hand in the bell the right way. And finally, whichever way you are set up, make sure that your French horn always comes to you. You never want to set your horn up and go to it. That might create some tension in your sound where you don't need it. It's going to keep you from playing the most relaxed way possible. And also it's going to inhibit your airstream from being really supportive and steady and flowing. If you have your neck tilted or something like that, you're going to be creating a kind of tense airstream, which we never want on wind and brass instruments. Remember, so if you're on a pillow next to you, or on your leg, or supported by your hand, good posture, bring your horn to you, then adjust your leg or your hand or whatever you need to make sure that that's the way you are going to play moving forward in your practice session. As musicians, it's really important that we don't just practice our instrument, but that along the way we also learn a little bit about music theory, which we did talk a little bit about last week, but I'm reminding you that these things can take a while to click, and it's totally okay if they do. You just want to keep practicing and keep going over it so that eventually you find a way to think about it that works for you. Last week we were talking a little bit about concert pitch versus horn pitch, which is tricky. I will say one very important thing to do along the way for this conversation is to start learning your key signatures, which we've talked about a few in these lessons. And remember, the key signature is that little piece of notation before the time signature, but after the treble clef. It just kind of shows us how many sharps or flats are in the music that we're playing. And it's really important because it's going to be a big clue to what key we're playing in as well. So learn your key signatures and learn which ones go with which scales. Like if you see one flat, you'll think, okay, that's F major or D minor. Or if you see no sharps or flats, C major or A minor. It's good to associate the key signature with the scale so that way, if you have to do something like find the horn pitch from concert pitch, you know the scale that you need. For example, if the concert pitch is F, and you know that we have to count up a perfect fifth to find the horn note, you can think in the F scale, okay, F, G, A, B flat, C. Okay, so concert F is our C, because I counted up 5 notes or a perfect fifth in the F scale. Or if someone says concert G, and you would think, okay, G, A, B, C, D. Okay, so concert G must be our D, because I counted up 5 notes along the way in that scale. Now, there are plenty of scales that you might just end up memorizing. Okay, concert B flat, that's my F scale. You hear it so much in band class or orchestra that you just start to think, okay, well, when a concert A is happening, that means I need to play an E. But it's also good to have a little method to fall back on for any of the scales that give you problems, or if you forget which concert pitch is which horn pitch. So that's a good rule. Count up 5 notes. Remember that we're a transposing instrument. When we play C, an F comes out, a concert F. Another thing that we can talk about along the same line as key signatures, transposition, concert pitch, is this diagram that you've probably seen before, the circle of fifths. Remember, it's the circle of fifths if you read it this way, it's the circle of fourths if you read it the other way, because in this way, C to G, G to D, D to A, those are all fifths. If you go this way, C to F, that's a fourth. F to B flat. That's a fourth, a perfect fourth. And this way, the circle of fifths way is adding sharps. This way, the circle of fourth way, is adding flats. It's a really good tool to have, and you've probably seen one before. Some of them will have also the relative minor labeled, which is handy. Some of them will just have the major scales, but it's all very important to your understanding of how these puzzle pieces of music theory work together and help us and inform us of the music we're playing. So if you have a chance to get your hands on a circle of fifths, it's really important, and it'll really help you start to practice which key signatures go with which scales. 1 sharp is G, 2 sharps, 3 sharps, 4 sharps. You can memorize that way, you can memorize this way. It's a great learning tool to start to get these theory things under your belt. The scale that we are looking at today is the concert C major scale. And you'll remember we'll count 5 notes up to find our scale. So C, D, E, F, G. This is going to be our G major scale because G is a perfect fifth up from C. For this scale, there's 1 sharp in the key signature. That's going to be F sharp. And remember, the first sharp is always going to be F sharp. That will always be the same. You'll never see your first sharp on the G line or something. You'll see it on F sharp, and now, okay, this is our G scale. For this scale, it looks like we have 2 octaves that we can work on today. So let's get started. Let's start with the lower octave first, since we want to practice being really relaxed and just using our air to be steady and supportive while we play. So let's start with a long tone on that low G. That's going to be open, no fingers, just open, low G. I'll play the long tone first, and you can join in on the second time. Let's play it together. You ready? Now, sometimes it can be tricky to hit a low note right off the bat. Just think of inhale, exhale, get a nice da on the note, and don't hesitate or tense up or do anything weird with your embouchure to get that note out. Let's take a few deep breaths here just to make sure we're using our most supportive air. So let's do 3. Let's start with 1, 2, and 3. Remember, you always want to rely on your air, and it's totally okay if during your practice session you need to take breaths like that to remind yourself that the air should be the most important thing, the starting point, and the fuel for your sound, okay? You never want to forget about how much air we have to use as brass players. Let's play that that G long tone one more time. Let's hold it out for 6 beats this time. 1, 2, ready? Good, and it can be hard to keep steady down there. Just make sure your air is supporting you and that you're engaging your core to have a nice, full, resonant sound down there with our best, steadiest air. So for this G scale, the first measure we have G, A, B. Okay, so I'm just going to take those 3 notes, that first measure. We'll do this twice through. 1, 2, ready. Together. 1, 2, ready. Awesome. So that's the first measure. The second measure, C, D, E, F sharp. This is the new note. C, D, E, F sharp. Let's take that much. Here's the first one through. 1, 2, ready. Together. 1, 2, ready. Awesome. So, as you know, it's important to work in little chunks. Breaking things down by measure is usually a good little chunk. Let's put those 2 chunks together. So the first 2 measures, and let's add up to that top G. And we'll just use a nice da articulation on this. I'll do it twice through. 1, 2, ready. Together. 1, Make sure that whole time you're feeling your air support you and help you make the best sound. Now, scooching along. G, F sharp, E. Let's do that first descending measure, just G, F sharp, E. And these fingerings are going to be the same for double or single horn because we're all just using the F horn here. There's no need for the trigger yet. I'll do this twice. 1, 2, ready. 1, 2, ready. Good. And coming up, I will slur this phrase down since that's how it's marked on our paper. Let's do that second descending measure. D, C, B, A, low G. So it'll be D, C, B, A, low G. 1, 2, ready. 1, 2, ready. Awesome. So let's just take the descending portion of the scale, starting G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G. Get a really good breath beforehand. I'll play this twice through. 1, 2, ready. Time. 1, 2, ready. Great. So now we have both pieces, the ascending and the descending portion of our G major scale, concert C. Let's put them together. Remember that we never want to play on bad air. Once you start to get to the bottom of your air and it gets kind of shaky and unpredictable, you probably want to take a new breath even before you get to that point. That's why when I play these scales, I normally breathe after the top note. So I would breathe after that top G so that I'm playing with really good air all the way down the scale. And I will do this when we play this coming up just now. Make sure for this scale, let's play it exactly as written on the page. So tongued ascending and slurred descending. Okay, here's the first time through this. I can play it twice through so that you can listen the first time or play along both times. Lower octave G scale. 1, 2, ready? Let's do it together. 1, 2, ready? Awesome, and I accidentally slurred it on the ascending portion that time. So this time let's play the whole scale, but let's tongue it. Legato tongue, so the notes are going to sound nice and smooth and connected. We're just going to have a nice articulation on the beginning of each. So G scale, legato tongue. Let's make it a little bit faster. How about we go this tempo. 1, 2, ready? Maybe not the most legato I could. So that time I actually slurred on the way up and down. Instead, this time let's articulate each note, and with a nice legato articulation, the notes are going to sound really smooth and connected. We're just going to gently attack each note. Let's do that now. 1, 2, ready? One more time. 1, 2, ready? Good. remember, if you need to, you can take a breath after that top G. Now, that was the lower octave of our concert. Sorry, I'm getting lost on the scale sheet. Now, that was our lower octave of the concert C, our G scale, but you'll notice there's another one written on our page, and it's always important to try to practice your range and expand your range and things along those lines. So let's go through this part of the scale together, this upper octave of our concert C G scale, okay? Key signature is exactly the same. The only sharp we have to worry about is that F sharp. Now, this scale is a little bit higher in our register, so just to make sure we're using the right air and embouchure setting, let's do a little mouthpiece buzz to get up to that upper note. That's me finding the note. I'm going to do a mouthpiece siren or a mouthpiece slur or buzz all the way up to that upper G and down. It's going to sound like this. Try it with me. Ready? And you'll remember that mouthpiece buzzing is really important to us as brass players because you really want to get good at the mouthpiece, and then your horn will only make you sound better. It's normal for your mouthpiece buzz to sound buzzy and even feel a little bit weird at first, but it's also important to practice it a little bit every day to kind of hone that skill for yourself. We're going to mouthpiece buzz the siren one more time. When we get to the top, I want you to try to memorize how it feels as far as embouchure and airspeed up on that top G. Just take a second and take account for how your embouchure, your airspeed, everything feels while you're up there, so we can mimic that on the horn. I think that's G. How does it feel? Let's try it one more time. Plug it back into your horn. And just so we can mimic that, when we play a scale, let's do a rip from G to G just to get our air going to that speed on that upper G. So it'll sound like this. Let's try together. I'm just using fast air to slur all the way up. I'm not trying to tense up anything or press my mouthpiece into my embouchure. G to G rip. Try to memorize how it feels up there. One more time. Awesome. So, let's tackle this portion of our scale now. Again, it's going to start on G. This time, let's take the first measure to start, and we'll add on a little bit faster from there since we've been doing this process for the lower octave. So we're going to play G, A, B. A on up will have the thumb valve on if you're playing a double horn. If not, all the fingerings will be the same for single horn, except for that D, that will be first valve. E will be open, F will be second valve, and G will be open. So for double horn, the fingerings will be G, thumb valve on all the way up, C, D, E, F sharp, G. For single horn, just think on that second measure, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Let's start in that first measure and just take those first three notes. 1, 2, ready. One more time. 1, 2, ready. Good. Now, let's start on that second measure and take that ascending last little half of it. We already talked about the fingerings. For double, this is going to be a little bit tricky because E natural up there and F sharp are actually the same fingering, thumb valve 2. So just make sure that you're trying to use very fast air. Let's play C, D, E natural, F sharp, G. 1, 2, ready. airspeed wasn't where it needed to be for that first C. Let's try that one more time together. 1, 2, ready. Awesome. You want to feel really relaxed up there. If you're having trouble with that note, it's good to sing it and feel how relaxed you are and try to mimic that on the horn. Let's play the ascending half of our concert C, our G scale, okay? And remember, we're just going to stay relaxed all the way to the top and let our air do the work for us. Faster air as we ascend. I'll do this 2 times so you can join in on the first or second time. 1, 2, ready. One more time. 1, 2, ready. Great. Now, you'll remember that it can be a little bit tricky to start up on that note. That's why it's good to practice how it feels up there to articulate. And for range things, you never want to beat yourself up about it because range takes a long time to develop. So we are just going to go through the second half of the scale. I'm not going to linger too much on that high pitch because everyone develops at different rates, and you should always practice high notes the right way. You shouldn't just practice like a bunch of G's in one day if you've never hit one consistently. You should try to start where you know and work up your range a little bit each day, okay? So fast, really fast, supportive air to start on this G. I'm going to think about supporting from my abs, and I'm going to take the whole descending part of the scale down, okay? 1, 2. So just, you'll be thinking, G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G. Or if you're on single, G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G. Really fast air to get up there. Second half, descending part of our G scale. 1, 2. Good. So now we have both halves of that upper octave of our G major scale. Let's put them together. It might be easier for you to hit this top note once you have the ascending portion of the scale with it. So remember, if that helps you, to keep that in mind as a practice strategy for when you work on building up your range later. You can think, okay, it's good for me to work up to that note and then attack from there and go down. You could also do something similar if you had trouble with the low note. Think, I'll start at C and work down to the low note and then come back up with the scale. All are really good methods to make sure that your range is developing the right way and that you're doing the right exercises to get there. Our G scale, ascending and descending that upper octave. 1, 2. Make sure if you take a breath at the top that you try to stay relaxed and that you're hearing that note so that you don't chip it on the way down. Let's try that one more time. 1, 2, ready. Good. Now let's do that entire upper octave G scale, but tongued. And I'm going to do it a little faster rhythm. Let's do da 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 da. So tongued, and I'm thinking of the rhythm in quarter notes and eighth notes, a little bit faster tempo. Da 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 da. I'll play this twice through. 1, 2, ready. One more time. 1, 2, ready. As always, make sure you practice with a variety of articulations and rhythms to keep your scales interesting and from getting too boring. So that is our concert C G scale, our G scale. Now we are going to go to the relative minor, which you'll remember is the minor scale that shares the same key signature as the major scale that we just played. So for us, this is going to be our E natural minor scale. E natural minor has the same key signature as G major, and that'll be 1 sharp, just the F sharp, okay? Now, if you know your E scale already, you'll have to forget those other sharps. Only think of F sharp as being the only sharp in this E natural minor scale. You'll remember that another way to find the natural minor scale, aside from just knowing that it shares that key signature, is if you look at our G scale, for an example, the 6th scale degree of the major scale is going to be the relative natural minor scale. So the 6th scale degree, the 6th note. So if we look at G, G, A, B, C, D, E is the 6th note. It also shares the same key signature. It's the relative minor to G major, 6th scale degree. So to start this scale, let's do the same thing we did before. Let's do the first 3 notes, okay? So it's going to be E, F sharp, G. 1, 2, ready? And you can hear that different scale quality already. You can hear that minor scale quality in the 3rd. Let's take that one more time, those 3 notes. 1, 2, ready? Good. Now starting on that A, B, C, D, E. Okay, so that next ascending portion of the scale, A, B, C, D, E on double. If you're playing a single horn, A, B, open, first, open. If you're playing single. Let's take that much, we'll play it twice. 1, 2, ready? Those notes together, A, B, C, D, E. 1, 2, ready? Awesome. We did 2 little chunks. Let's put them together for the whole ascending portion of our E natural minor scale, which is concert A natural minor scale. Whole ascending portion. 1, 2, ready? Awesome. You want to make sure that for every single scale we play, you're taking nice full breaths, okay? I even have to remind myself sometimes. And sometimes I can tell if my sound gets a little thinner. That lets me know I'm not using my best air and I should take a few deep breaths, kind of reset myself, and then play it again with a really supportive, steady airstream. Let's take that much, the ascending portion, one more time. 1, 2, ready? Great. Now for the descending portion, we're going to start on that top E. D, C, la, la, la. And remember, you can use some of the tactics we talked about before. If hitting that note is tricky for you, you could also just do an E to E rip here on your horn. And just stay relaxed. You don't want to think, because that's not going to give you a good airstream. That's kind of cutting things off. So keep your shoulders down, stay relaxed. Use your air to do that work to get up to that note. Let's take those 3 notes. E, D, C. 1, 2, ready? One more time. 1, 2, ready? Awesome, and now let's finish out that second half of the scale. B, A, G, F sharp, E. 1, 2, ready? Very good. One more time. 1, 2, ready? Great. Now let's put the scale together. We're going to go ascending and descending. Let's articulate each of these notes. Keep that nice slow tempo. And if you want to take a breath, which I will be, take it after that top E so that you have a really full supportive airstream on the descending half of the scale. Let's do this together. And we'll go through this a few times, so don't worry if you want to listen the first time through. 1, 2, ready? Let's do it again. 1, 2, ready? Good, and for good measure, let's do this at a little bit faster tempo. Da 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 da. 1, 2, ready? One more time. 1, 2, ready? Very good. And like we said before, it's always good to mix up your scales and how you practice them. And that's also how you'll see them in real life. Sometimes they'll be mixed around or just little fragments of your scales, stuff like that. Now, at the end of this E natural minor scale, we have something that's also good for us to look at today. It's called an arpeggio. So you'll see it after that E half note. It's the last 3 bars that we play. E, G, B, E, G. Or sorry, E, G, B, E, B, G, E. An arpeggio just means broken chord. For E minor, that would be the tonic chord because it's the chord built on E, the 1st, 3rd, and 5th scale degree, okay? So the tonic of a key is the note that is its namesake, the note that it starts on, and the note that feels like home. For E minor, the tonic is E, an easy way to remember it. And this tonic arpeggio is just the notes built that will make that, that tonic chord, that E minor chord. So let's play this arpeggio, and let's just slur it up and down, okay? Just da. 1, 2, ready? Let's slur it one more time. 1, 2, ready? And just like scales, arpeggios are important to practice because they help us familiarize ourselves with a key. They're also good for working out the mechanics of slurring or tonguing notes that are farther intervals apart. So let's try to tongue this arpeggio as well. Da, da, da. All the way up and down. 1, 2, ready? One more time. 1, 2, ready? Let's do it one more time. 1, 2, ready? Awesome. So it's always good to practice the scales in different ways, such as that. So that about wraps us up for what we are working on today. Thank you guys again for coming to the mini masterclass for French horn, and happy practicing!